Hey, dear ones. This morning, when I was clearing up my data on my phone to clear some of some storage space, I found this Ascension Manual, and there is no author. It's just 92-page PDF. So I must have downloaded this from somewhere, but I don't remember. So it's the first time I'm going to read it, but it looks very interesting. I would not have downloaded this if it wasn't interesting to begin with. But it says the Ascension Manual, exiting the illusion and becoming the greatest and grandest version of yourself. So there are 20 chapters. The first chapter title is The Story of Creation. Chapter 2 is the story of planet Earth equals heart. Chapter 3 is the ego program mind. Chapter 4, the Cabal. Chapter 5, the golden age of Aquarius. Chapter 6, the prophecies. Chapter 7, the 144,000. Chapter 8, the brain. Chapter 9, consciousness. Chapter 10, tools and techniques. Chapter 11, energy and vibration. Chapter 12, the chakra system. Chapter 13, divine qualities. Chapter 14, mother of all creation's journey. Chapter 15, disclosure, the event. Chapter 16, light bodies. Chapter 17, 5D technology. Chapter 18, the divine decrease. Chapter 19, universal laws. Chapter 20, the code for humanity. This is very interesting, and I'm not seeing any author name or anything like that. So now I'm thinking whether this is from my higher self and I wrote this somehow, and it manifested and made it to my hard drive on my cell phone. That's interesting. I won't be surprised if that is actually what happened. Chapter 1, let me just read. I don't know how far I'm gonna get to this. But I'm just gonna start reading, and then when I get tired, I'll stop. Okay, so chapter 1, the story of creation. In the beginning, only the energies of love and the unknown existed. From this, mother of all creation birthed herself as source. She was the first self-aware consciousness in existence and birthed the rest of creation through her heart. Mother then created a love mirror, a masculine counterpart that she could create with. This love mirror was father of all creation. The story of Adam and Eve reversed this truth and instead said that Adam created Eve. The feminine essence, mother, creates and births life. The masculine essence, father, is the support and manifester of mother's creator power. Mother and father then birthed the 144,000 original souls, pairs of twin flames made up of feminine and masculine counterparts. The original 144,000 are the first created fractal of Source. They are the archangels, the ascended masters, and the oldest children of creation. 19 billion years ago, one of the archangels of the 144,000 decided to separate from the rest of creation. Jehovah was the first fallen angel. He wanted to be God without God. This original separation caused a rift within creation, a fracture within the oneness that Mother and Father had created. Once a soul separates from Source and unity consciousness, they no longer have the ability to create from love. They can only create through destruction, which is the opposite of creation. Jehovah went on to create lower entity races and to dominate other planets and multiverses through cosmic wars and destruction. This led to dark races such as Anunnaki, reptilians, Dracos, Zetas, Greys, etc. They began creating lower realms of darkness, taking over planets and parts of creation while enslaving divine beings. Mother and father then came up with a plan of brilliance and divine intelligence to once again reunite all of creation back into light and oneness. Father of all creation took on the contract of going down into the darkness. He descended into the lower realms and began mastering the darkness. In essence, Father had to become the lower version of himself in order to master these realms. His lower essence became known as Lucifer, which actually means light bringer. He brought light into the darkness. As Father took command of the dark and began mastering the lower realms by transforming the lower energies back into light, Mother continued on in the higher realms of creation. She then created a second masculine counterpart to continue creation with. She created Father of the multiverse. The Bible often refers to the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The missing piece of the Holy Trinity is the Mother. Mother is the Holy Spirit, source. Mother, Father, and Father of the multiverse make up the Holy Trinity of creation. Mother, Father, and the 144,000 continued to ascend many planets out of darkness, and the cosmic wars continued until they were to reach the final battle ground Earth. Let me read that again. Mother, Father, and the 144,000 continued to ascend many planets out of darkness, and the cosmic wars continued until they were to reach the final battleground Earth. Earth was saved as the final battleground between dark and light, as Earth is the heart of the universe and was created as the ultimate Garden of Eden of the cosmos. Mother knew that Earth would be the last planet to be surrendered, as it is the jewel. Okay, that ended chapter 1. I'm gonna continue to chapter 2, the story of planet Earth. Earth equals heart. Earth equals heart was created as the heart of the universe. It was the most unique planet and very sought after by the dark. Earth lies at the center of the universe and has many portals and cosmic highways around it. This made it convenient for travel. Earth was also unique in that it had both an inner Earth and surface Earth. Most planets were occupied only on the inner plane, not on the surface. Earth was a playground for souls to have a physical experience and create in physicality. This was the original Garden of Eden. 27,000 years ago, the Earth was a fifth-dimensional planet. Two civilizations were present on the planet, Atlantis and Lemuria. Atlantis was a 4D civilization. They were working their way up to the spectrum of consciousness but still had not reached the fifth-dimensional frequency. They were masters of energy and held many ancient codes, technology, and knowledge. Atlantis was located near Florida in the Bermuda Triangle. Lemuria was a fifth-dimensional civilization, and Mother was the queen of Lemuria, Sophia Gaia. Lemuria was filled with light cities and crystal technology. Lemuria was located near the region of Hawaii, which now holds the last remaining Lemurian energy on the planet. Horus, Mother's husband in Lemuria, betrayed Mother by giving the Atlanteans access to crystal technology. However, the Atlanteans could not use the crystal technology because they were not in the heart, and only the heart can access and use 5D technology. This is very interesting because, well, I'm not gonna say anything right now. I'm just gonna continue reading. But this resonates to me big time. Okay, so the misuse of this technology ultimately led to the great explosion in what we would know today as an atomic bomb. This explosion sunk Atlantis and Lemuria to the bottom of the ocean. Mother had no choice but to ascend quickly and to pull the unified field with her, because if the Atlanteans were to get into her unified field, they would have blown up the entire multiverse. This explosion knocked Earth down in consciousness immediately to a third-dimensional frequency. Many remaining Atlanteans and Lemurians were left on the surface of the planet, traumatized and confused as they descended into amnesia. Many also were able to escape the surface into the inner Earth through a portal in Arkansas, hence the story of Noah's Ark, Arkansas. The remaining surface population had now fallen into a state of amnesia, as 3D is the lowest dimension a soul can exist in physicality. They could no longer remember their true origin, their God selves, or their connection to Source. This created the first wound of separation on Earth, separation from Source. Earth was officially on a path into a black hole of destruction. The Anunnaki, soulless beings, then took advantage of the fallen Earth. They came in ships and descended onto the surface, convincing the now primitive beings that they were gods and to worship them. The surface population believed the Anunnaki to be gods, and this was later recorded in many historic paintings and drawings and stories of mythology. The Anunnaki began reproducing with the primitives, creating what we call hybrids or aberrations. They work with the remaining Atlanteans to create what were referred to as the Atlantean experiments on the humans. Okay, that ended chapter 2. I'm going to move on to chapter 3. The title is The Ego Program Mind. Here on Earth, Mother and Father had created the dream machine. Each being had a portal at the base of their brain into the dream machine. Its intended use was to allow humanity to have a direct portal to the divine inspiration from Source, to be able to bring dreams of love into reality. Mother had been emanating divine consciousness throughout Earth via the dream machine. The dream machine acted as a physical emanation and representation of Mother's heart, allowing all dreams of love to be transferred and experienced in physical manifestation. The dream machine is the God spark, the emanation of the original blueprint, and the lower forms on the planet misused it, placing thoughts of illusion and fantasy into it that in turn affected the consciousness of humanity, creating a dream. The Anunnaki hijacked the dream machine and implanted the first fearful thought into the collective consciousness of humanity, that we were separate from Source. This fearful thought began morphing into what eventually would be the ego program mind. Ego, E-G-O, edging God out. Edging God out, E-G-O, ego. What the program did to humanity is it discounted the fuses from the right brain and left brain, causing distortion, imbalance, and illusion. This was done so that the controllers could control humanity. Through the disconnection that occurred, humanity forgot who they were. So it was then easy for the controllers to fill them with all the illusory belief systems and rules to be manipulated. They trained humanity to serve the darkness, to become their servants in the darkness. The right side of the brain is the holistic part because it's the higher connection to the higher thoughts. Higher thoughts are unlimited and where all possibilities exist. The left side of the brain is the intellectual aspect. The left side of the brain, when out of sync with the right, connects into the primitive mind or to the illusion of outside attachments. All outside attachments are an illusion. Through the silent evolution, the big shift, and through the activation of the divine plan that is unfolding, the right brain and the left brain is returning to its original form and is being fused together to create the complete awakening into full consciousness. This fusion that is taking place is an unstoppable event for all human beings on planet Earth. Our advice is to allow, embrace, and let go of all belief systems, all illusions, and everything humanity has ever been taught or told. Currently, those that are resisting are only hiding their light behind fear. How the program ego mind operates is that it gathers or collects all the experiences of the past to continue the experience of the lower dimensions of lower thoughts of consciousness. This is where humanity has fallen into. Its function is to keep you held down or dumbed down so that it can continue its survival. We say, let go of your anchor. Back when Mom first began doing research on the ego, edging God out, she was unaware of the tactics of the ego and how it was affecting humanity. After figuring out that the ego was the disease infecting humanity, she began to see how the ego was operating. She then understood that the ego was doing the flip taking everything from true reality and flipping it to the opposite. The ego mind is a collection of traumas, wounds, and belief systems that pass down from generation to generation through programming. This programming became so advanced, it began to implant into the DNA, causing further distortions. All dysfunction on the planet is caused by the ego mind. The mind can only replicate from what it already knows, which is destruction. The mind is disconnected from the heart, which is where one can access source energy creation. The ego mind created the flip. Everything here on earth is the complete opposite to what exists in the rest of creation, which is love, everywhere present. The biggest flip that was created was changing Mother God to Father God. Although Father of creation is Mother's twin flame, she is prime source creator, and she created Father as her love mirror. The Adam and Eve story was flipped to take away all the support from Mother in the divine feminine. Changing Jesus from a masculine to a feminine was also a huge flip, as Mother was in fact Jesus. If you take everything from 3D and flip it to the opposite, that is what true reality is. The ego doesn't know anything else besides the flip. Those in ego cannot identify that they are in the flip or how to switch it. This was how the controllers were able to blind humanity from the truth. This caused a spiral downward deep into the flip. The ego does everything that is the exact opposite of love, taking from God rather than giving. Even subconsciously, the ego will try every way to stop the creation of love. The ego perceives everything the way it views itself. The ego can only see its own projections. When the ego sees the Mother and others who embody pure love and divine embodiment, it can only see what it sees in itself, which is hatred, lack of integrity, entitlement, etc. In true reality, one recognizes Mother as everything that love is, because she is the divine love mirror. The ego represents everything love is not. The ego is programmed to only focus on lower consciousness realities and thoughts. It sees everything as negative. This can be seen by humanity's deep embodiment of shame, guilt, fear, unworthiness, and lack of self-love. The ego looks at any situation and finds what is wrong with it, rather than seeing everything as a miracle and lesson or blessing as love does. Because humanity is still living in the ego programming, they can only project and see the negative in everyone and everything around them, but they cannot see that they themselves are the problem. That is the ultimate flip. The ego can never be satisfied or fulfilled. It seeks external things to fill the hole that can never be healed until it looks at itself and acknowledges all the ways in which it is self-sabotaging through delusions, avoidance, and projection. The ego is a black hole that sucks the life force from the being, and in turn, the being needs to take energy from others around them in order to sustain. One of the biggest ways in which the ego tries to fill itself is through food and sleep. This is why there are so many who can eat endless amounts of food but still be hungry, or sleep many hours per night and still be tired. The ego is a parasite that sucks and sucks without any ending. Humanity has no self-sustaining source connection because they are still in the illusion of separation from God and from the oneness energies. The biggest addiction in this planet is to energy. The biggest addiction on this planet is to energy. This was the product of the ego program, constantly needing to steal energy from others in order to continue to survive. This is done through control dramas and trying to manipulate and power over others. The ego feels entitled to things, especially the energy of others. The ego believes it deserves something from everyone, especially from God, when it has given absolutely nothing back. This is the flip that keeps humanity in lack consciousness and unwilling to give to others. In true reality, everything is an equal energy exchange. Universal law states that when you give, you receive. When one is living in the heart, in love, it gives freely out of love and receives abundance in return. The ego expects others to do the work and feels that they have done enough or it's not my problem. That is the disease of separation. The ego is cut off from feeling, so it has no awareness of what is going on around them, which is the opposite of love, which has full feeling and consciousness in all moments. The ego always needs to know things as it has no trust or faith. It is always asking the same questions when it already has the answers because it wants proof. True love trusts in God, in the divine plan, and has full faith that they will be taken care of. Here are the examples of ego programmings: lack of wisdom, lack of experience, lack of compassion, lack of passion, lack of perception, lack of integrity, lack of honor, lack of empathy, lack of feelings, lack of self-love, unworthiness, ignorance, ignoring love, arrogance, attachments to people, places, and things, taking from humanity and the planet, incubus and succubus energy, the taking of energy through words, touch, sex, and other abilities, childhood trauma, childish behavior, robotic habits and behavior, disrespect or hatred towards the feminine or masculine, preference to pain and suffering due to unworthiness, superior, thinking you know better, entitlement, self-importance, delusions of grandeur, fantasy, needing to be right, controlling, ungrateful, no accountability, spreading or participation in gossip, jealousy, vanity, lack of beauty, desire, wanting to be desired, validation, wanting to follow or be followed, fake, unable to be genuine, compulsive, lying, reverence of the mind, seeking reverence, reverence of animals, justification, procrastination, bargaining, poverty consciousness, always thinking in lack, addiction to sugar, linear thinking and acting, identification of things from the outside, princess conditioning, bitch conditioning, asshole conditioning, gay conditioning, anal retentive, severe impatience, easily distracted, quitter, inconsistent, complaining, laziness, complacent, reactive, cultural programming, white trash programming, black programming, Asian programming, etc. Bloodlust, wanting or arousal of seeing blood shed. Superego, an advanced form of ego characterized by extreme arrogance, thinking you know better, fantasy, and racing thought loops. Spiritual ego, the fantasy version of spirituality where one thinks they have attained enlightenment when they haven't, thinks they are above others and lacks accountability. Okay, I'm going to end it here. I will continue to chapter 4 on the next recording.